Well, hello, 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 everyone. How's everybody doing out there? I am Alvin King, your host of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. Thank you all for joining us tonight on this Friday, July the 15th. Yes, we are truly halfway through the summer or I'm sorry, through the year and have completely embarked on our summer. Once again, I'm glad that you all are here and thank you for joining us. It has been a crazy week for me at least. And I know in looking around the world, the weather has played a huge part of that. From torrential downpours to high winds, trees falling on people's homes. It's just been really crazy. And so I want to give a shout out to everyone who experienced some of these crazy weather patterns and how it's affected you and your life. I'm praying for you. We are praying for you, and we hope all of you are safe. But as all of my spiritual folks will say, to whom much is given, much is required. And Lord knows, I know about that because, again, this week I have a sunroof in my car and water got in the back, some valve got clogged and water got in the bottom of my car. And it just made me think of one of the episodes from P Valley. My P Valley folks out there, I know you all are out there. How you doing, Rose? I know my P Valley folks are out there. There was an episode where Diamond was walking in water. It felt just like that. Okay. I was completely shocked at how that would happen. But I'm resilient and we have to press on. But speaking of good writing, again with P Valley, last week's show, yes, I'm a hop on it, where one of the characters, Teak, took his own life in front of another character, Little Murder, and the show dealt with male trauma. It was just absolutely incredible writing, ladies and gentlemen. And, speaking of amazing writers, I was in New York about 3 weeks ago for my birthday. It was Father's Day weekend, Juneteenth weekend, and I went to see an off-Broadway play called What the End Will Be. And it was written by a young, gifted, and Black man by the name of Mansa. I gotta tell you, I got a chance to meet him. And one of the stars of the play also, Ryan Jamal Swain, was also there. I got a chance to meet him. He was one of the stars in the series Pose. But Mansa was so inviting and so embracing. I got a chance to talk with him. And I'm telling you, he is here tonight to dish with all of us about the play and what's next for this talented young man. But we're not going to do any of that before I bring on the highlight of my He Said, He Said life, Mr. Vash Boddie. Vash, can you come on in here?
Hey, Alvin King.
I'm good.
I'm good. Alvin King, you look good. Like
Thank
your skin
you.
looks all hydrated and glowy. Like you look like you've been through trauma of jury duty.
Oh, okay. See, you know what? I'm gonna bottle you and put you on my dresser and take the top off in the morning. Thank you so much for that
You're
compliment.
welcome.
No, I am. Yeah, it is. Yeah, to whom much is given, much is required. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me see something. That's a cute cup, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see the cup Boss is holding?
In case you missed it, we have merchandise now.
Order yours now. He said live at gmail.com. Thank you for, oh my gosh. Oh, thank you. Thank you for showing that tonight. Woo. Okay, see, you caught me off guard yet again. So this crazy place that we're living in this world that we're living in, Vash. So much has been going on, and this January 6th stuff is just, I mean, it's just taking on different twists and turns, my friend. It's just absolutely insane.
Exactly. It's like it was last year where every like 30 seconds something incredible has happened on the planet and you have to rethink how you're living it.
Well, honey, I was going to call you honey. I'm gonna call you honey.
You did call me honey.
Yeah, honey, I'm gonna call you anything I want. But what really got me this week in as far as what's going on with January 6th, the former White House counsel, Pat Cipollone,
Yes.
testified before the congressional committee investigating the insurrection. And he corroborated virtually everything said by the White House insider Cassidy Hutchinson doing her, smoking gun testimony last week. And, I was just like, I mean, completely blown away by the fact that his story was in sync with hers. And it made her look even, legitimate. I mean, she was telling the truth, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Like, he did not negate anything that she said. And as a matter of fact, none of the people who are testifying are negating anything that anyone else has said. They're just giving more detail and their perspective. So when he testified, which he had to after she did, he laid out so much stuff that, folks should be lining up to tell their side so they don't get in trouble.
Well, and also the January 6th committee is actually showing that in no uncertain terms that Trump and his MAGA allies, that they planned, promoted, and led a criminal conspiracy to try to overthrow the U.S. government. And all the while, before our very eyes, Trump and that same his MAGA allies are putting in place pieces that are needed to attempt a second coup in 2024.
Moreover than that, we know that Jenny Thomas had some say and was texting people, right? Ooh. So the fallout from these accusations that there was fraud in the election were that all these states want to change all of their election rules and laws, right?
Yeah.
Swing on up to the Supreme Court, who wants to, led by Clarence Thomas, wants to push all voting jurisdiction back down into the states. We are seeing a direct connection to this insurrection through Jenny Thomas to the Supreme Court, showing how this insurrection had very deep roots and very wide branches, and we need to scrape all that infection out.
Yeah. And I know that based on what you just said, the January 6th committee, they know that the Republicans' plan centers around installing Trump lackeys in the offices that will oversee the elections in battleground states. And so it is time to stay woke, people. Stay woke. Do what you have to do in your jurisdictions, in your cities, because we need to deal with this. How you doing, Blue? What does Blue say?
Now we see why Pence did not trust the Secret Service. I think I got that right too.
You are so again, another piece of that puzzle. The Secret Service got rid of evidence.
Yes, indeed. Well, look, in addition to staying woke, because we can come back to this.
Yes, we
can.
One
of the most woke moments that I have seen in most recent time is when Miss Kiara Bridges sat down and had to deal with Josh Hawley. We have that clip. We want to talk about this because we talk about this here, right? Yeah. She hasn't said anything that we haven't already talked about because we are gender warriors. We know what's up. We are woke. But let's see what she had to say, and we're going to come back and talk about this.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Are you?
Are you? Well, see, in our community, we use the term read, right?
Yes.
But the thing about a read is, it's not considered a read if it's true.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
you only read you if it's she let him have it.
And she went hard, right? She did go hard.
Yeah,
But I'm glad that she was able to sort of start the conversation about there being sex,
yeah,
which has to deal sex terms, which deals with body parts, and gender, which is how you show up in the world, and talking about men and women opens you up to certain types of conversations, and talking about sex opens you up to different kinds. And she really did start that, and I'm happy about that because some other people need to learn.
Well, there was another conversation, sort of, on the same or on the same topic,
Yes.
where on last Monday, Macy Gray was interviewed by Piers Morgan, and she discussed the confusing state of gender identity while referencing the whole he, she, they pronoun usage. Though she said, though, that she shared Morgan's stance on supporting trans rights for fairness and equality, she also agreed with the view that trans women born to obviously superior physical bodies should be prohibited from competing against cis women in sports.
There's a lot to unpack with what Macy said. First of all, when she was talking about sex and women, he said, well, what's a woman? She goes, well, they have a hoo-hoo and tatas. And he was like, well, what about people who get operations? And she goes, well, then it's more about this and this. It's like, well, honey, well, which is it? So she needs to take a seat and we can all talk about what gender is. And then her thing about trans athletes, it's as if there are not athletes as big as Brittany Griner. Like, she's a tall person. Like, would someone say that she couldn't join the swim team because she's too tall?
Right.
So it's transphobia still, because they're still not accepting the fact that women come in different types, different shapes, and we just have to accept and deal with the fact that sports are sports.
Well, she and I'm gonna get off of Macy's boat, but she said something that I just thought was just so ridiculous. And yes, it came from her mouth and it was her opinion. But she said, but as a woman, just because you go change your parts doesn't make you a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, sorry about that. And she said, if you want me to call you a her, I will, because that's what you want. But that doesn't make you a woman just because I call you a her and just because you got a surgery. I thought all of that could have been left out. She didn't. I was offended by her saying that.
This is the thing about people assuming that the only thing that makes you a woman is being a female at birth. Right? I mean, a woman, that is a gender term.
Right.
We recognize that people become women. Even females become women. We have language that supports that. There are ceremonies that support that. So when she said it was about body parts, and he says, well, what about surgery? Then she says, oh, no. It's about something else. It's like, well, what else is it about? Is it about having people scrutinize your appearance? Because trans women get that. Is it about not being able to find jobs and being paid less? Because trans women get that. Is it about the likelihood that you're going to be murdered or abused by your male partner? Trans women experience that. So look, I mean, if we're going to really, let's sit down and figure out as a society, and it is a societal thing that says what a woman is, let's apply that and let's see how many folks fit into that. And it's not just women, it's also trans men. There are so many trans men that you would see and be out and about and not know, and they are men. You tell someone be a man, well, they are. So it's like, gender, that's gender. We can talk about sex differently. And that's where she got caught up. She's confusing sex and gender.
Well, okay. And I'm sure there will be more to say about that, but thank you for having this conversation and us sharing about that, because there are a lot of people out there that probably feel like Macy Gray, and I just think that it's time to start talking about that a little bit more. So I'm sure we will on the show, but
You know we will, because I will.
we will. I have been waiting for this moment for, I'm going to say, a good three weeks, Vash. And I've been talking about the play What the End Will Be since I came back from New York, and to have our special guest on tonight to talk about the play, for me, is just so heartwarming. So if you're ready to move on with the show, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest tonight, Vash, if I may, if you're ready, sir.
It pleases the court. It pleases the cast. It pleases my soul.
You got me. You got me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mansa is an award-winning writer from Memphis, Tennessee. He attended Morehouse College, Spelman College, Emory University, and earned an MFA in playwriting from the Yale School of Drama. He just finished his highly successful off-Broadway production of What the End Will Be at the Laura Pels Theater in New York City. About 3 generations of men who live under one roof and grapple with their own truths of what it means to be Black and gay. It's an exploration of pride, pain, and patience through the unflinching eyes of fathers and sons. The New York Times praised it as everything that is meant when we say that Black lives matter, while the Wall Street Journal called it an undeniable pleasure. Ra has written and produced on over 2,000 hours of network television. Most notably, his episode of New Amsterdam, A Seat at the Table, took his own experience with police to reveal why Dr. Reynolds, played by Jocko Sims, chose to be a surgeon. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, he is here to talk about this magnificent play, What the End Will Be, and what's on the horizon for this incredible writer and his career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the He Said stage, Mansa Ra.
Mansa Ra.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. How are you, my friend?
Listen, I was doing great before you did our news wrap up. I usually am able to purge that and then present, but it is wild what's happening in the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
It intends to be like, this is what really happened. When we were watching this on television, Trump was trying to get out of his car to go join them. It's just bananas. So yeah, stay woke.
Yes, stay woke. And I still remember the day. I think about that moment like I think about when the planes hit the World Trade Building in New York, and where I was and how big my eyes got when I watched that on TV unfold. And to look, and let me just tell you, Mansa, that building is across the street from where I work.
Wow.
So I was just blown away. But thank you for being here. Good evening once again, and welcome to our show. I'm just going to ask you to take about 90 seconds to tell our viewers and our audience about yourself. For those who have not seen What the End Will Be, tell us a little bit about your story and the story that you've created.
Sure. So, hey, everybody. I'm really, really happy to be with you all. My name is Mansa. I am a playwright and a Black radical lover. And I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and I was educated in Atlanta, Georgia at Morehouse College. So I was born where Martin Luther King died, and I was educated where he was educated and born. And so I found myself as a writer really just picking up that legacy. Like the Times said, it's about Black people living. And so a lot of my work is not about our dying or our pain or a lot of the stuff that I think it's like really buzzy in the entertainment industry and theater, but moreover, like, what is it like when we are in our gardens? What is it like when we're in our living rooms? What is it like when we are at peace? And it's funny because people don't know. People only see so many aspects of Black people and Black culture. And I just, like, as a storyteller, find it really amazing to invite people into the living room. And not, not for the, the drama, the mess, the police brutality, but for the life and the vivacity of Black culture And then with What the End Will Be, I get to sprinkle a little gayness in it, which was nice. And so that's what that play is about, is being in the living room with 3 generations of gay Black men. And it is not a play about anybody struggling with sexuality or the police or the American government. It's about what it means to be a father, and what does it mean to be a son, and what do we owe our families, what do we owe ourselves, and what does freedom really mean? I think that was a little bit longer than 90 seconds, but that's me in a nutshell.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Our viewers got, again, a glimpse into what I saw. So I am very big on where someone comes from. So Mansa, I'm going to ask you, what was it like growing up as little Mansa?
Mm-hmm. I was little Jure. I changed my name about a year and a half ago. And if you are a real country, you pronounce it Jire. The little Jire was really quiet and observant. I'm an only child, so I had this like complex that like I tried to be quiet so people wanted to be around me longer. It's like the more I talked, the more I was just like, get this kid away from me. And so I listened a lot. And anybody who will tell you, like, I always had a clipboard with me. I've known from the beginning that I was going to be a writer. And so my mom signed me up for like every free lunch program and after school program, trying to keep me busy and socialize me, I think. And I would go to golf camp with the clipboard and just be like, they're writing a story. And then I would be like at band camp or whatever. And people were like, are you writing about me? And I was like, no, read it. And then all of a sudden I'm passing around notebooks, those composition notebooks with the like black and white splotches on it. Yeah. People were like, okay, what happened next? Finish writing. And it was just kind of like my first taste of what it meant to be like a storyteller for a community, the voice of my friends, even if we were in middle school or whatever. I've just always been interested in listening to people's stories and sharing them and reflecting them back.
Okay, I have to ask you before we go any further, how did you come up with Mansa Ray?
Musa was a 14th century leader of Mali. And during the pandemic, I spent a lot of time researching civilizations. What happens in the biggest picture possible. I think so often our legacy, especially as Black Americans, is relegated to slavery and Obama, right? Like that is the container for our identities. And anything before the slave ship is a big question mark. And if you get talking to any kind of like people who are actually from Nigeria, they'll be like, oh, they'll tell you what tribe you look from, but like you really don't know. And so I just spent a lot of time thinking about the whole of Black history, like all of people who share our melanin. And I came across this incredible Muslim leader who made a legendary trip to Mecca. And it was a 6-year journey where he essentially gave away more gold than was in the economy, period. And the stories of his generosity lived on for centuries. And so for me, I really wanted to be known for someone who is generous and someone who is deeply spiritual.
Okay, nice. So clearly you like history and learning. You went to some of the great universities. You went to Morehouse, Spelman, and Yale. 3 very different educational facilities and learning experiences. How did they all shape you and your writing?
I think it's incredible. I didn't have to negotiate the white gaze until I was an adult. I just didn't. I grew up in Memphis and I went to Black schools, and then I went to the AUC. And that's a place where I think Black kids are encouraged to learn and grow and be as big as possible. I also went to Emory for a little while. And then when I went there, I was like the token Black guy in a way that just felt like, oh, whatever he says goes. Like, I'm so happy, It was like they treated me like a little bit like the inner city kid, but it was like fine. And then I got to Yale, which is, the ivory tower, this kind of colossal place of history and legacy and excellence. And I realized just how out of touch white people were, that they just had no clue. One of my favorite quotes is Michelle Obama when she was wrapping up her time in the White House, and she was just like, guys, they're not that smart. They're just not that smart. And I think being in environments where I got to be my full self and then go into Yale and learn how to code switch and learn how to, put on whatever that thing is that we have to do. I got to really understand that it's not about them. And I think that that's something that a lot of my peers are still struggling with, honestly. It's just like trying to explain themselves to white people or trying to negotiate the white gaze or prove their worth to these white gatekeepers. And I was just fortunate enough that I understood really early on that my stories are for my people. And if anybody else gets it, then that's wonderful. And if they don't, well, I hope you enjoyed spending a little bit of time in this McMansion that was beautifully designed by Reed. Go home, learn something. But I never had to cater to white gays, and I'm just really lucky that I went to programs and schools that encouraged me to be big versus when I got to Yale, I had to learn how to be small.
Or fit in general. We've had some people join us. Got to say hello. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Judy's reaching out for Brooklyn. Hi, Linda. Linda's a relative of mine. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. So then how did you come to start writing?
I think I was always going to be a writer. I think the question was like what medium I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a novelist. One of my favorite stories is when I was like 10 years old, I read Beloved by Toni Morrison. Wow, my mom didn't want me to read it, but the movie had come out and I was really jealous that everybody was talking about Beloved and I wasn't old enough to see it. And so I read it. And she didn't want me to. I like snuck it off the shelf and I would sneak it back. And it was, I'm an only child, so you got to make up sports. And I was just transported. It was one of those moments where it's just like history and literature and art, the way that the words were rendered on the page. I knew I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to make art with language. And after I read it, I asked my mom some questions. I was like, so tell me this about the slavery. Tell me this about, motherhood. And she was like, did you read that book? And I had. And so from a very early age, I've just been deeply curious about how art and words and language especially can transport us and take us somewhere we've never been before with such clarity. Like after finishing Beloved, I knew more about slavery than I think I could have gotten from any history book, because Toni Morrison explored the interior life of her people, and I knew that that's something that I wanted to do. And so I was a writer. I did AP English. I founded the National English Honor Society at my high school. I am a type A person. Like when I make a goal, I make sure it happens. And that was the dream that I've been able to turn into reality. I live in West Hollywood and I'm a professional writer. It's incredible.
I love everything that you just said. Wow. So did you write What the End Will Be as a book or specifically for the theater?
I wrote it as a family, which is my way of saying, there's a silly quote from Steel Magnolias where Weezer's like, why would I read a book? If it's any good, they'll turn it into a movie. And I just always thought that was the funniest thing because Steel Magnolia's been turned into a movie. It is that really good stories, people that you want to spend time with, they don't go away. And people get inspired to tell different versions of it. And so for me, I think when I started dreaming up the Kennedys, and what would it be if little Jure had an older gay Black man in my family who I could confess my feelings to, who didn't take me to conversion therapy when I did it? What would happen if we actually felt safe baseline of our identity? And then we could build identity and more on top of that. So the Kennedys were just a family that came to me that's like, what if a Vietnam vet lost his partner to COVID? I mean, that's horrible. But knew what long love was, And then what if the dad was still in the closet but wanted to get married and so was married but closeted? Isn't that weird? And then what if the son gets caught sneaking a boy out of his house? as I did a lot. I only got caught once, but I snuck a lot of boys over. And so these Kennedy men just started coming to me, and at a really early workshop, Keith Randolph Smith, who you saw play Bartholomew, the grandfather, read it for the first time, and it was just clear to me that these were real people, that they weren't some weird imagination, that I wasn't putting something freakishly odd on stage, but there was truth to this Kennedy movie.
Well, in hearing you say that, it made me I want to ask you, Mansa, if you could share with us your method for developing the settings for this story. Specifically, did it start with an image, a voice, a concept, a dilemma, or was there's something else?
My plays all start with images. They do. So for Too Heavy for Your Pocket, which was my debut play, I saw a field of grass. And like I said, when I got to the North, I just realized how out of touch Yankees were about so much. And so, like, plays don't have grass. People don't go outdoors in plays. And I wanted to fill the stage with grass and what it means to have that texture, that type of nature in the space, and how that informs how people live in the South. It really informs our lives. Nature does, in a way that I don't know it's always true about New York. And with What the End Will Be, it was the moment that Tony sneaked Antoine out, and Antoine's annoyed because I'm your nigga. Like, why are you treating me like this? And not only that, and it's not true in this iteration right now, but this house is nice. These people are rich. They have it all. And Antoine comes into this space, and he's effeminate, and he's proud, and he's out, and he is made to feel shame in this kind of beautiful Atlanta McMansion. And that was the moment. It was like, what would it be like if little me stepped into the dream before I knew what the dream really felt like? And that's kind of like the moment that I started with is Antoine saying, I'm breaking up with you. You rich, closeted football player. I can't live like this. I don't know how you live like that. And then that puts Tony on his journey. That's how it started, at least.
Okay. And again, go ahead, Vash, because if I could run the play another month, I promise you, for 3 people who are who are watching us tonight, I promise you, I would buy you all a ticket so you could see it. And I have one person here, Robert Blue Beatty, who said it was a great play. He saw it, and so besides you, Robert Beatty, I'm not buying you a ticket. But anybody else on here who, I promise you, if it was open another month, I would buy you a ticket to see it. It's that good. Okay, that's my deal.
That's hilarious. Well, we have Steve Pride watching, who says, great show. They're out in California. So when you go to California, you make sure you get him a ticket.
Hey, Steve.
So how much of you is in this play?
Oh, I'm all over it. I am all over it. Yeah, I mean, I have some sunflowers up here. That's a theme of the play. My partner, that's his nickname. He's my sunflower. I love old fashions. That's Maxwell's drink. He's constantly drinking old fashions. Like I said, I snuck boys into the house. I mean, really, it's me. It's just this kind of exploration. I mean, I think that's what happened. Just like I mean, when you are a gay youth, you don't always have visions of the future. You know what I mean? You don't always have visions of what that might look like. And so I got to go crazy with what that might look like. I just got to go wild with what does it mean to reach the end as a Black male gay person. So at so many different intersections, this is my Venn diagram, intersections, that's not what we talk about, right? We talk about diseases, we talk about gun violence, we talk about loneliness. We talk about so much. And for me, this play, I wanted to talk about love. And my next play, I'm going to be talking about love. It's something I'm interested in. I started this off. I did not realize until very recently how radical it is to to really be a lover, especially being in the skin that I'm in.
What do you mean by a lover?
You know, Michael Jackson, I'm a lover, not a fighter. You know, like this sense of like, right, exactly. It's like I'm not. There's a quote from One Night in Miami, the beautiful Regina King directed film. And it's like, I am not a warrior of a race war. That's not what I am. And I think America makes you do that because it's such an awful place to live so frequently that you have to fight for your rights and you have to be a credit to your race and you have to make your ancestors proud. And you have to be a good ancestor. I mean, you got to do a lot. And just to say no, I love my family. I love my partner. I love that love is actually the core of who I am, not a political identity or cause or they're important. They're really important. I'm not taking anything away from it. But when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed at night, it's not what I'm thinking about.
I love that. I love it. So then which character, jumping back to your play, which character was the most difficult for you to write?
I mean, the grandfather, I think. So Bartholomew Kennedy is only in his 70s. My grandparents are in their 80s. Today's their anniversary, actually. If you're watching, happy anniversary, y'all.
Happy anniversary, y'all.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, 60 years, 62 years, something like that.
You can be vague and just say a long time.
A long time. but it was just I volunteered for a program called SAGE, which worked with elderly gay members of Harlem at the time. And that was my first time meeting anyone who was a senior and queer. Anyone, just anybody. And so it was not someone I had a lot of things to pull from, if that makes any sense. I got to do a lot of dreaming with Bartholomew. And I got to do a lot of work with Keith Randolph Smith, who played Bartholomew with, well, how does this feel in your body? And what would you say to them? And you might notice, Alvin, that none of the characters say I love you in the play, that they don't use that kind of language. Right. And how do they do it instead? How do they negotiate affection? Because I think that's a thing that Black men have a hard time doing sometimes, is saying I love you and meaning it and doing it. I forgot the question. I'd be rambling. My bad.
No, you answered it. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vash.
No, so you answered it, and it is a challenge for certain generations of gay men, especially Black gay men, because one, AIDS wiped out a lot of folk, and two, that bridge that would have linked us to the ones that are super elderly is gone. So there's like this sort of island of isolation between the generations. So I completely understand. Good answer. Thank you.
And speaking to that, that was one of, I was going to ask you what was your favorite moment of the play, Mansa, but I want to share with you one of my favorite moments of the play covers what we don't talk about as much as I think we should. And that's how we deal in unexpected ways of caring for our elderly parents. And you brought that story home so well to me that I saw people crying, okay, and feeling love, but at the same time, these two emotions I saw them because it was happening while I was watching it. How did you come about writing that into the storyline?
We all want to make our parents proud. I think that was like the core of that beat for me, is that like Maxwell is doing his best to make his dad happy. Maxwell wants his dad to be proud. Maxwell wants his dad to live a long, happy life. Maxwell wants all these things for his dad. Mm-hmm. And simultaneously is having to raise a child, a son, a man. And I was so interested about that intersection. When I was 14, my grandmother moved in with us. She passed away maybe 5 years after that. And it was the funniest thing to watch this woman come from living alone in Detroit into our house with my mom, with me, with her son, and not be able to do anything. You know, it's not her house. It's like it was this weird limbo that she eventually figured out, but it was always amazing to me to feel like that's part of the cycle of life if we're so lucky that, you know, that our parents take care of us and then we take care of our parents, and it is just as frustrating for both parties. And that's funny. You know what I mean? The other thing we haven't said is that the play is a comedy. The goal is that you're laughing. People cry, obviously, but like it's supposed to be funny too. Did you laugh, Alvin?
You did I laugh? Oh my God!
Yeah, what was your favorite joke? What did you like? What did you like?
you mean when I laughed?
Yes.
Oh, when I laughed, it was the opening play. It was the opening scene when the grandfather, when he was coming into the house. That whole moment. Oh, what happened?
I don't want to hear.
Oh, you don't want to
Spoiler
hear?
alert.
The opening of the play, when you brought Keith onto the stage, that whole opening had me in tears. I was laughing from the moment. I was like, how do you start a play off with all you heard was, I think it was like 3 or 4 words come out of his mouth, and he wasn't even on stage.
Yeah.
And we were screaming. So no, that was one of my funny moments. There were lots of funny moments in it, but again, you grabbed our emotions in ways that it wasn't like a thunderstorm. You took us on a journey with you, and we followed you. And I'm getting chills right now because you in some words, I hope I don't get sued over. You did what needed to be done. Okay.
Thank you.
Cease and desist letters coming to you.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Because I feel like people walk away talking about that they're crying and it's emotional, and we get to see this man transition and pass away, which I think is all very true. But I also I want to take care of my audience. I want the audience to feel good. I don't ever want to make the audience feel bad.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can I interrupt? Because I have to know this. Because first of all, getting a play done in New York in any capacity is such a long shot. To get one done by a reputable theater company in a reputable theater in Broadway, I mean, the odds are just astronomical. Can you briefly tell us the journey to getting this off Broadway? Or I'm going to say Broadway because it's just right down the street. I ain't going to tell you nothing about it. It was on Broadway.
Listen, it only matters if you live in New York. Everybody else, it's like
exactly.
It's literally the same street.
I did live in New York, so I get to be
You know, it's funny. I'll start a little bit earlier, dude. Like, 300 people applied to Yale the year I got in, and only 3 people were accepted. And I got in on my first try. And I feel like that was the moment I realized that the stories that I was telling were singular. That if we're being honest, writing is a job. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there is someone working right now on Spider-Man 18. You know what I mean? You know, like, that is like, it is part of the job is to know, you know, exposition, climax, resolution. You know, part of the job is just some of these mechanics. But I think what makes my work special in particular and then producible, which I think that is kind of what we're pointing at, is like, dude, it's on stage, you know, is that these are people that we're not used to seeing. And I know what they sound like because I listen to them and I talk to them. And nobody else at MTC or Roundabout or insert reputable theater company here has spent time in my grandmother's kitchen. Nobody in those places have spent time at Bulldogs in Atlanta. And I am telling stories, I think, that are really textured in reality for an audience that is thankfully incredibly curious about the people I love.
Right on. Well, Dwayne Vernon chimed in, who is also a writer. He's been on the show. When you said that writing is a job and you got to know, he was like, you tell it. So
it really is.
Right on. Thank you for answering that. And again, congratulations, because it really is such a monumental feat. Stars really have to align. You know, talent is one thing, but there's still a lot of things that have to come into play. And I just
there are a lot of incredible plays that have never been produced. There are a lot of incredible plays that have never seen the light of day.
Right.
Yes, truly. So Mansa, Mansa, you mentioned earlier that this was your second play. Your first being Too Heavy for Your Pocket. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's correct.
and you also and so Margot, and I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing her name right. Bondelon, Bondelon. She was the play director for your first play, and she's also the play director for What the End Will Be. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and the chemistry?
Man, Margot is an angel on this planet. She is one of the white people who knows she doesn't get it, which is half the battle. So Margot was a director at Yale. That's how we got acquainted. And she actually directed my final piece at Yale, my thesis. It's called A Carlotta. And so when I got the opportunity to take Too Heavy and produce it, which was incredible, I won a competition called the Candida in Atlanta. And Margot was a no-brainer because this is what she did, y'all. I'll tell you the story. It's a little bit long, but I want to talk. I had been working on a piece with another director who literally asked during rehearsal who Martin Luther King was. He was the guy from Israel, so I cut him a little bit of slack. But it was hard because, dude, you're directing this play and you don't know who MLK is. And then he was like, oh, I know who MLK is. Wait, who's Malcolm X though? Like, literally, I'm teaching our history as I'm trying to get this play done. And it's just kind of crazy.
It's like he's the other guy the school was named after.
There you go. And so he ended up not fitting. And Margot, on her very first day of our rehearsal process, literally sat on her hands and knees. Like, she literally lowered herself in front of our cast, who also was like, why would you bring her in here? You know what I mean? Like, they're looking like, why is this? And she said, y'all, I am here to learn. That was her introduction. And just that by itself, for me, was one of the moments where it's like, she's special. And then on top of that, she's incredibly talented. She is an incredibly talented director. And so this is actually our fourth production together. We did a show called Somebody's Travel. We did 2 productions of Too Heavy, and now we've done What the End Will Be.
Wow.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Margot because coming from I'm a director, and I am taking my first stab at working with a writer on a project. And so when I did my homework on the work that you've been doing with Margot, I just thought I need to give her a shout out as well, because great job, girl, wherever you are. Hopefully you're watching this. Margot, you got it going on. Okay. So yeah. So I want to say hi to let me see, Derwin's on here, George. I want to say hi to you guys. A special shout out to you. Thank you for joining the show tonight. I know I've told a couple of them about you, Mansa. So thank you guys for joining the show tonight. Isn't he amazing? So okay, Vash, go ahead.
Well, who are some writers that you really like and look up to?
Toni Morrison is like the queen. I've read everything she's ever written. There's a writer called Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who is one of the fathers of magical realism and revolutionary writing in Latin America. And then living, there's no one greater than Terrell Alvin McCraney, who wrote Moonlight. He's exceptional. Did you guys see Moonlight, the picture?
Yes.
I did. Yes. Yes. The show Moonlight.
It won the Oscar for Best Picture. It's about the so the guy who wrote that is Terrell McCraney, and he is the reason I decided to do this professionally. He has a series of plays called the Brother Sister Plays, where he brings to life Yoruban Orishas, and they're like in this kind of Miami housing project going at each other. And it was the moment I was like, oh, plays can be about me. Hey, I guess the future of the play is important.
Yes, that was the next question.
Yeah.
So Rose is asking, will the play be showcased elsewhere on the East Coast or coming to Washington, D.C.?
To be determined. So there is certainly a future for this play. Too Heavy for Your Pocket ended up going to want to say 16 cities after its debut. And so hopefully what the MB will be has a similar trajectory, and it's coming to a place near you soon. But we just closed last week, y'all. So your boy is still tired. I am in bed and not moving. Because it was a feat, like you said, putting that play up was not an easy process. So hopefully there's more coming, but it's a little bit like, all right, that one worked.
Well, Mansa, we are about to wrap up with you, but we need to keep you for a little longer because Vash and I decided to play a little game with you that we play with some of our special guests. But before we go, I want you to briefly tell us what's next for Montserrat.
What's next for me? So I am turning Too Heavy for Your Pocket into a movie, which is really fun. So that is really what I've been up to. I've been re-engaging 1961's Freedom Riders and what that would look like to turn it into a full-length picture. And then hopefully getting what the end will be on the road. Hopefully we can see that in some cities soon. So those are the only things I can talk about right now.
Okay. Well, no, thank you so much for being on the show tonight and for dishing with us. I'm speaking for Vash and saying that we have thoroughly enjoyed, you being on the show, and we don't want you to go anywhere, like I said, because we have something special that we want you to play with us. But before we do that, we have a special salute, ladies and gentlemen, to the NNPA from Karine Jean-Pierre.
This is Karine Jean-Pierre, White House Press Secretary, and I am thrilled to celebrate the 82nd anniversary of NNPA and the 195th anniversary of the Black Press of America. Congratulations to Dr. Ben Chavis, Chair Karen Carter Richards, Stacy Brown, and the entire team on your continued leadership. It is because of what you and the NNPA publishers do each and every day that Black voices are amplified across the nation, and I look forward to working with you for years to come.
Well, thank you, Ms. Karine Jean-Pierre. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Well, Vash and I, we have come up with this game called Rapid Fire to help our viewers learn a little bit more about our special guests. So we're going to ask you a question. Are you familiar with the game Rapid Fire?
I am, and I'm excited to play. We'll see what comes out of my brain.
Okay, we are ready. Vash, would you like to start? Take it off?
Sure. If you could buy any type of food to eat right now, what would it be?
Oxtails.
Oh, oxtail.
If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I would be an orangutan. They're my favorite animal. They are these powerful, intelligent, solitary creatures that are just beautiful. I would be an orangutan.
What's one thing on your bucket list?
Skydiving.
What's your
We'll
favorite?
see if I ever do it, though. It's scary, right? I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
What is the one thing that annoys you most?
Ooh, the one thing that annoys me most. White people? I don't know. I'm not.
Wow. Who's your favorite superhero and why?
Storm, Ororo Monroe, the greatest. Oh my God. Because she can fight even without her powers. That's the crazy thing. Like, she's just badass, period. Sorry, I love Storm.
I love it.
If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
Gail. Dude. You get to be Oprah's best friend, and you have your own TV show. Like, literally, what is wrong with Gail's life? Nothing. Like, she's living it. I would be Gail. Like, and I wouldn't give it back. I would be like, Gail, you got to be me. I'm sorry.
Finish this sentence. I'm so happy it's summer, so I can.
Ooh, I'm so happy it's summer, so I can go to the beach every single week. I love it. I've been going to the beach so much, and it feels so good out there.
Right on.
And what is your favorite thing about someone in your family?
Ooh, all of the Holders are great storytellers. They are the funniest people you will ever meet, and they never stop talking. They just don't. Like, it's just like they will go, and you're endlessly fascinated because it's like the way that they talk and the way that they see the world. I just feel very lucky to be a Holder. They're funny and they tell great stories.
My last question for you: if you could be any flavor of ice cream, which one would you be?
Wedding cake. Because you got the texture in there, but it's like vanilla, but you got a little bit of like cake flavor in there. And I don't know. I love it. I would be wedding cake ice cream.
Okay, work that out.
Okay, well, and this is my last question. If a movie was made of your life, what genre would it be, and who would play you?
It would be a drama because I'm dramatic. I'm so dramatic. And who would play me in my biopic? I don't know if I'm lucky. Sterling
K. Brown.
Sterling K. Brown. If I'm lucky, that would be cool.
I think that's a great choice. I think that's a great. First of all, thank you for indulging us in our rapid fire, getting to know Mansa a little better. Thank you very much. I know you a little better. And Judy asked, "What is it on my T-shirt?" It is what the end will be. It is the T-shirt from the play. I managed to nab one before I left New York. And I am so glad I did. And I told Vash this is the first time that I've ever worn. I love this T-shirt. That's all. And it's all because of you, Martha. So thank you. We are nearing the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And again, dishing with us and telling your story and sharing with us. And if what the end will be comes to your city, ladies and gentlemen, I swear, I'm following him, so I'm gonna let you all know on the show. We're gonna let them know, aren't we, Vash? We're staying closely connected to you so that we will let people know if it decides to come to their city. Thanks. I signed on late and missed that. Oh, okay, Judy. But next week we will see you guys, and we want to share with you our words of the week this week, which is by an unknown individual. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the words of the week from Vash and I. And again, thank you for joining our show, with special guest, Mansa. Thank you. And we will see everybody next week on our new episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
Look at that. Just like music. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Y'all have a good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.